What's going on, guys? It's Eric. It's New Year's Eve. I really need a haircut, and I hope the ring light's not too distracting. Is it too distracting? Let me know. Today we are going to be looking at all of my cameras, or at least all of my film cameras. I thought it'd be fun. I've accumulated kind of like a weird little collection of film cameras. Thought it might be interesting and fun to take a look at them in no particular order. Does that sound good? Let's do it. So we're going to go through these, like I said, in no particular order. I was originally going to do them kind of in order of like ones I've used the most to the ones I've used the least, or not at all. I've decided against that. I'm just going to kind of go through them. If I've taken pictures with them, I will show those, display those, or display some of them. And maybe I'll be able to give you a little bit of background about each camera and what, niche it might fit in your photographic arsenal. Let's go. So I'm going to start out with a camera that I did a video on maybe 2 years ago at this point, or close to it. This is the Yashica Mat-124 G. As you can tell by looking at it, it is a TLR camera, meaning it's a twin lens reflex. Essentially, as opposed to an SLR camera where you have a single lens and a mirror and it bounces the image up. In this you have two lenses, one of which composes the image, that's the one that you look through, and then one of which actually takes the image. This can result, if you're focusing up close, in some kind of weird parallax issues, but in general it's not something that matters or that you're going to have any problems with. This is a fantastic camera. This is a camera I've used a lot. I've gone hiking with it. I've gone out with it. I've taken a lot of pictures with this. This shoots square format, so it shoots 6x6 medium format images on 120 film. You compose through the top there. And it's great. A really high quality little lens on this guy. I believe you can get as fast as 3.5, unless I'm mistaken here. Yeah, 3.5. So it's relatively fast for a medium format camera. It looks neat. The build quality is really good. And best of all, you can get one of these for around $200. I bought this for, I think, $175 in bargain condition on KEH, and it's immaculate. These kinds of cameras, TLRs, I think are really interesting for a bunch of reasons, but most of all because they kind of represent a photographic dead end. They represent a direction that photography took for a while that's no longer being used. You don't see TLRs anymore. Everything is an SLR or mirrorless format at this point, and it's cool to kind of explore something that was in use, once upon a time and no longer is. Now here is a bizarre looking camera that I've never used. This is the Olympus IS-2 DLX. This is a camera that my father found and gave to me. The lens cap on the front is a Nikon lens cap, I believe, does not actually fit this lens. This is a really interesting camera, and it's something I will be doing a video on in the future. For starters, it's just hideous in that sort of 80s, 90s, high-tech plastic way where everything just looks cheesy and terrible. It's a very suggestive looking camera. It's completely automated, so it's terrible looking. It's incredibly awkward to hold in your hand, but this is something I will be doing a video on in the future and taking some pictures with. I'll blush carrying this around. Interesting. Next up, we have a couple of Minolta 35mm cameras. I believe this is the Minolta 7000. This is the Minolta X370. So this is the camera that I learned 35mm photography on. This is the camera that I first shot black and white, developed it myself, all that stuff. It's a great little camera. You can get these for remarkably low prices. The lenses are really good. You put together a kit with one of these guys for next to nothing, or you could upgrade to like an X700 or something pretty cheap too. Now this is I believe the 7000. This is an autofocus camera. I did a little bit of research on this, and there's a funny story behind the technology used in the autofocus on this. Again, much like the last one, really plasticky, really ugly. This is like something Gordon Gekko would be very proud to take photographs with. Really dated look. It doesn't have the timeless look that something like this does, which is sad, but I'm excited to shoot some pictures with it. This was a gift from my buddy Jeff, who's actually coming up next week to visit, so maybe we'll take it out and take pictures together. Who knows? We'll have an adventure. Next up is the Next up is the Argus Argo Flex. Another TLR. I'm not sure if this actually qualifies as an actual TLR or if it's a pseudo TLR like some box cameras are, but yeah, this is a camera that was built in Michigan. around the Detroit area for a long time, and I have this because this was my grandfather's camera. This was given to me by my uncle the last time I was in Arizona. This belonged to my grandpa. He took pictures of my grandmother and my mother and my aunt and uncle with it, and it's cool. Not functional. The shutter is seized up on it, and probably would cost as much to fix it as it would to just buy another one, but this is a neat example of kind of when photography becomes family history or kind of becomes a memento, and I think it looks neat on my shelf. Now let's look at this big old box. Now this is the Brownie Bulls-Eye flash outfit. So it's the Brownie Bulls-Eye camera with a bunch of stuff. This was a gift from my brother-in-law and sister a couple Christmases ago, and it's really cool. It's the whole, are we in camera? Oh, there we go. Let's get in the, yeah, there we go. So it's a whole flash setup. You got the flash bulbs, you have the camera. This is a box camera, and I have taken some pictures with this. If you are not familiar with box cameras, they're incredibly simple cameras that were manufactured in, like, I would say the 40s through the 60s for mass consumer use. They have very few options. This one actually has more options than most do in terms of focus distance and aperture. Generally, it's just a box where the film goes in the back. You compose your shot and you take it and you hope for the best. With these, I would recommend using a really forgiving film. I did videos on a couple of different box cameras, and you get some neat images. The cool thing about box cameras in general is you can usually find them for cheap at like garage sales and stuff. The big trick can be finding them operable without light leaks and cracks and things like that, but if you find one that works, you get it for a good price. It's worth taking it out, you know, 10 bucks, taking it out, taking some pictures, developing them. One of the things you'll run into with a lot of these is that they use 620 film, which is essentially, it's 120 film, but it's rolled onto a different size spool, so you can't use 120 on it. You have to either re-roll the 120 onto a 620 spool yourself or pay a markup to some fine folks on like B&H who will do that for you. And while we're looking at that one, we might as well take a look at a couple other box cameras. These are two Duaflex 4s. I did a video on these a million years ago. I took them to the fair a million years ago. Two years ago, maybe? I took them to the fair outside Buffalo, the Erie County Fair, and took some pictures. They both have problems. They don't load correctly, and they have light leaks and some issues. This one's got just a pretty obvious crack on it. But I got these from my parents. I think they paid $5 for both of them in a garage sale. So we're taking a picture. I don't know. Next up, the Pentax 6x7. Now, if you know anything about my channel or me, you know that I'm deeply, lustfully in love with this camera. I probably use this more than any other camera I own. Just love it. Right now I have the 55 f4 on there, which is a wide-angle lens that I've taken some pictures with recently. I also have the legendary 105 2.4 lens, and I have a 165 2.8 portrait lens. I love them all. Everyone is special in its own way, just like your children, but much like your children, I have my favorite. It's the 105 2.4, which is possibly my favorite lens I've ever used. This is a giant SLR camera, and it's unique in that it's built sort of like a traditional 35mm SLR would be. It's, if you've ever used like a Nikon f-mount camera, a Canon, you know, even a modern DSLR, this is going to be immediately familiar to you, except it weighs a lot and can be really unwieldy to handhold. But I'll show some photos, obviously, that I've taken with this camera, but I just absolutely love it. The huge film surface gives you this really magical depth of field on a lot of images that's very difficult to quantify, but immediately recognizable. The downsides to this, outside of the weight and the form factor of it, which I find to be not that much harder than, you know, say like carrying like a Canon 5D Mark III in L glass. It's about the same in terms of weight, honestly. Just the grip isn't as comfortable. But outside of that, there's a good amount, especially on this one. This is a really old body that I got for very little money, and it's the non-mirror lockup version, which I would recommend you not buy. I just got it for an incredibly good price on eBay and just did it. But I'm looking to move up to a 6.7, something that has mirror lockup, because if you want to shoot something like landscapes or something with a longer exposure, that mirror slap can create tremendous problems with you in terms of getting a sharp image. Beyond that, you need a heavy-duty tripod because the shutter slaps pretty heavily as well too. The whole thing just shudders, you know, no pun intended, when you take a picture. Beyond that, the max sync speed on flash photography is 1/30th of a second, so you have to, you know, keep that in mind. If it's something that you would be interested in doing, you might be better suited using a different system if like portrait photography in a controlled environment is your game. But otherwise, love this camera, love the glass. Wish it weren't as popular as it is because it can be tough to find the stuff I'm looking for. But yeah, I know I said this a bazillion times in one of my last videos, but cannot recommend this enough. Here's a weird one. This is a Kodak pocket compartment case with a little dove sticker on it. I didn't put that sticker on there, but I did buy the case. Bought the whole thing at Goodwill for like $2. This is a Kodak Instamatic, Pocket Instamatic 2110 camera. It's cool. It comes with this little GE reppin' Schenectady. Poison in the Hudson, you know, GE, you know how we do. GE flash on there, and it's really cool. It like rotates and clicks as you fire the camera and fires the flash. It's neat. I've never used this camera because a number of reasons. One, it's a 110 camera. If you're not familiar with 110, it is yet another format of film. It's super small. So it's smaller than 35 millimeter. You're gonna get very little data on a 110 negative. I think you can buy it through lomography. I just have never been moved to do so because, like, I don't know, that's money spent that I could spend on, you know, like 120 film or something that I'm probably gonna use and get more usable results out of. I don't know, would you like to see a video on this camera? I don't know. If you would, leave me a comment in my web zone. Yeah, I don't know. It's neat though. Bought it because it was pretty. How about a Polaroid camera? So I'm just going to be straight with you. I know nothing about this. I think the price that I paid for this at Goodwill is probably still on here. No, it's not. They usually write them on with marker. I want to say I paid like $3 for it. Doesn't function without film in it. They told me at the Goodwill that if I put film in, that would have the battery pack in. Is that true? I don't know. Don't know anything about this. I've never used it. I just bought it one day because it was there. Here we go. This is one that might be familiar if you follow the channel. This is the Graflex Crown Graphic. A beautiful camera. Big fan of this camera. It's a 4x5 large format camera. This is actually one of the first film cameras I ever purchased. I've done a couple of videos talking about this one, but of course shoots 4x5 sheet film, gigantic negatives, really good for landscapes. Tough to recommend with the Intrepid camera out there, but still a really cool piece of photography history. I took the little viewfinder off, but this at one point was like, you'd see like the newspaper reporters snapping photos with this. Taking some pretty cool photographs with this camera. It's very heavy, kind of unwieldy, but comes, oh my god, is it stuck? We'll edit that out maybe. Comes, recommended. Check it out. If you can find one of these for the right price, and the right price is, you know, well under $200, go ahead and pick it up. It's a cool camera. Next up, we have the Canon FTB, and I'm going to include the Canon A1 in this. I keep looking around. I don't know where it is. I took it out yesterday and took pictures with it, but I have done videos on both of these cameras. The A1 is the one that I use more than this. They're both great. They're both FD mount Canon 35mm SLRs. You can take great pictures. They're very affordable. Really good student camera. Go pick one out. Pick one up. I'm doing a video on FP4 Plus. So I took it out yesterday and took a bunch of pictures in the snow and at the farmer's market and stuff. So look for that in the future. Spoilers, if you watch this far, you get some future spoilers. Shot some on medium format and now some 35mm. So there you go. There's something to look for in the future. But yeah, I don't know where it is. But the good cameras. Now we got a couple of kind of miscellaneous 35mm. This is a Konika, and this is a Konika fully automatic camera that my father bought me a few years ago. It's interesting because my dad had a Konika camera when I was a child, and the model number actually escapes me. I'll probably put it in the video when I get a chance to look. But this is the FS1. This is not that camera. This is a newer, higher tech version. but Konica made some beautiful, beautiful cameras, some beautiful glass, and some really, really high quality stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Konica was kind of rolled into what is currently Sony. Sony's camera division at this point. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. But if you can find any, Konica, but if you can find any Konica camera for a good price with clean glass on it, it's almost a no-brainer to go with it. They're really great. Now, this is something I'll probably dedicate a video to in the future because I think it's interesting. The other one is a Mamiya Sekor 500, Sekor 500 DTL. I don't know anything about this camera. It has a 50 millimeter, I think 50 millimeter f2 lens on it. I don't even know where I got this. Where did I get this? Who gave me this camera? Where did this come from? It's got a little leather case. Where did this come from? I don't even know. They just appear on my shelf and I have them. You tell me, do you want to see a video about the Mamiya Sekor 500 DTL? Let me know in the comments. Next up, it's a Canon Canonet. What a cute little camera this baby is. I've done a video on this camera. This is great. This is a rangefinder, so it's different from any of the other 35 millimeters we've looked at. It's a fixed lens. You compose by matching up the little ghost image with the real image in the rangefinder itself. Very, very, very cool. Super small. You can fit it in your pocket, sorta, if you have big pockets. I took this to my sister's wedding and took pictures. It's a lovely little lens, and it's a 1.7 lens on there. I think it's a 41.7, so it's wide, it's fast, really, really, really cool. I love this camera, and you can usually get them for a pretty affordable price. This is the Canonet QL17 is the model, and it's the G3, so it's the nicest one. The shutter shutter seized. That's a tough thing to say. The shutter seized on this camera, so I am going to take it in to get serviced. Unlike the Argo Flex, it is worth paying to, you know, the $50 or whatever to have this guy fixed, because I do like this camera a lot, and it's just a pretty handsome little camera. Build quality is really nice. Check these out, really great. And last, it's kind of a weird coincidence. I didn't plan this, but this is last. This is the Mamiya RB67. Just a fantastic camera, and if you're used to the camera itself, you recognize something different. This is a Polaroid back on the back that I just bought. I just got it like a week ago. Excited to try that out. Ordered some film on Amazon, and there will definitely be a video on that experience in the future. Do you have any advice on shooting Polaroid with a medium format setup? Please let me know below. But if you're not familiar with this camera, I did a big old video on it a couple of years ago. It's probably my most watched video on the channel. This is an SLR camera, completely modular, shoots 6x7 negatives, made by Mamiya. Really, really beautiful camera, and unlike its newer, fancier, more technologically savvy younger brother, the RZ67, this one is completely mechanical, so there's no issue with like electrical parts needing to be replaced, any sort of like electronics, which could conceivably be an issue moving forward with, you know, like the RZ67. So yeah, really beautiful camera, really great. Check out my video on it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave me a comment. If you have any questions about or comments about the Polaroid back, I'd love to hear them from you guys. I look forward to hearing from you in general. It's, you know, it's been a minute since I put something up, so I am alive and well and relocated and trying out a ring light, and it's just a brave new chapter in my life. So I think that was everything. I believe that's everything. I mean, I don't. I know that I missed some, but I'm just not sure which ones. But if you have any questions, comments, if there's anything that you saw that I haven't taken pictures with that you're interested in, you're like, make a video on that camera, I would love to see it. I have some stuff planned, but I'd be really open to suggestions. If you have any suggestions on cameras you'd like to see me go out and acquire to take pictures with, I'm really open to that. You guys are the best. If you're new to the channel, of course, check out some of my other stuff. If you like it, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill. I'll see you in about a week. I've got a video, like I said, on a film stock coming up that I'm gonna put some work into tomorrow and the next day, and hopefully get up shortly. So look forward to seeing what you guys think. Have yourselves a great holiday season and Happy New Year.